So my name is Pieter Brinkman. I'm Senior Director of Technical Marketing at Sitecore. And I've been at Sitecore now for almost 9 years. And it's becoming a new tradition that I do this What's New overview, which is a lot of information that I'm going to share you about the upcoming 9.3 release, which will be released later this year, which I missed in the keynote. So here you go. Now you know, 9.3, later this year. In the next 45 minutes, I want to talk to you about the Sitecore landscape. What kind of products do we have? How do they work together? And focus on how that will add value to you as a developer and also to your customers. I want to talk and highlight while I do that on new things that happened since we last talked at Symposium, but also, again, highlighting what's coming up in that 9.3 feature release. So I'm going to warn you, it's going to be a lot of information, and I'm going to try my best to keep it in this 45 minutes. So as we all know, Sitecore started as a content management company just before this century started. And Sitecore has always been known in leading in the industry by innovating and by pushing the boundaries. You saw Mark Frost saying that we were first in personalization, first in experience marketing, and we'll maintain and keep pushing the boundaries of the industry. I like, while we're in, of course, in Orlando, the theme park city of the world, to compare both Sitecore and my own history at Sitecore 9 years as an amazing thrill ride. It goes up, and also sometimes it goes down. It will take corners and loops. The ride might be scary at some points, but at the end, every time, I'm excited to do this again and again. So here we are, next symposium, next release. So next to the industry that we're in, content management and experience marketing, we're also pushing to other industries. We're expanding to industries like Content Hub and commerce. So today I will focus on all the industries, all the product, how we work together, what kind of technology do we use, and how will this help you. And I want to do it in a different way than I do normally. I want to do this based on a Sitecore project lifecycle. And if I look at a project lifecycle at high level, I see 5 different stages within it. You start always with requirements. Then you do development, deployment, content management, and optimization. So starting off then with requirements here. Requirements are basically a list of necessary functions and capabilities for your project. There are loads of types of requirements, but to be honest, on a high level, they will always fit either business requirements, user requirements, or functional requirements. If you look at each of the requirements, I truly believe at least they should be complete and well thought through. They should be consistent and prioritized with your business owners, and of course, testable at the end when you create your project. So then we're going to development. We have our requirements. And for me, a Sitecore project development has an amount of sub-stages. But if we go to it in high level, you start with selecting your development approach. How are you going to build your solution? Then you set up your information architecture, and you will following by developing based on your company's best practice and Sitecore's best practice guidelines. And this all while learning about new technology and new projects and products that Sitecore releases. So let's dive a bit deeper into development. We'll start off with selecting development approaches. And Sitecore will offer you 3 first-class development approaches, starting with heavy complex with Sitecore Custom, based on Microsoft MVC, going to rapid delivery with Sitecore Experience Accelerator, going all the way to full headless with Sitecore JSS. So let's go one level deeper on this developer approach and help you make the right decision for your next project. So if we start with Sitecore Custom, it's very good for a large, complex solution, which has a need of a lot of backend logics, right, and different kinds of integration. It's highly customizable. It's a totally customizable solution based on a .NET framework with C#. Then if we look at SXA, Sitecore Experience Accelerator. SXA is best for rapid builds, content scaling, and governance. It's perfect for large solutions with loads of content that may not have too much complexity and backend integration. This is definitely something that you will use if your business user has the need to build things at speed. Faster content built by using the drag and drop components, both out of the box and the ones that you can customize and create yourself. It provides freedom to the business users and the marketing teams to create campaign websites and websites without the need of IT or development as soon as it's been deployed. And then the last option that we have here is Sitecore JSS. And JSS is best for headless solutions. It's when a company wants to leverage JavaScript. It allows teams to build full Sitecore solutions, leveraging their favorite JavaScript framework, maintaining still all the capabilities of the Experience platform. So all your analytics features, your content editing features, your personalization features will still work in this headless solution. Also, initially, development can be done in a disconnected mode, providing from the developers the opportunity to rapidly work with frontend and the customers to create a prototype or an app before even touching or connecting with Sitecore. So here we have our 3 developer approach. And Sitecore is always invested in enhancing all these developer approaches that we have. The good thing is they all share the same kernel. So improvements that we do on the kernel will be reflected within all these approaches. So let's dive a bit deeper in what's new in 9.3 for all these 3 different approaches. Starting with Sitecore Custom. So for Sitecore 9.3, we made a significant amount of enhancements and improvements. I've selected my top 5 enhancements that I want to highlight here during this session. More information, of course, can be found during other breakouts at Symposium, and I'll also write a blog post when I return home and I find the time to do so with a bigger list of all the features and enhancements that we're releasing with 9.3. So I want to start up with my first one, and this is one I referred to in other presentations and also in the user group conferences. We are cleaning up our code. We're basically removing obsolete functionalities. An important one you should see there is Lucene, meaning that if you're upgrading your solution to the newest 9.3 and you're still using Lucene as a search provider, your code will not compile. We also removed n-velocity, and we replaced certain types of SQL data types. If we go to the second one, it's XConnect. And XConnect is also all about performance. If we batch up the number of requests that we do, we'll make XConnect work way more efficient, which will introduce better performance and it will reduce costs at the end. My third one is one that you as a developer might feel is a small one. But for a business user, having the navigation and the control bars enabled by default will help them do their day-to-day job. For you as a developer, we introduced a new page mode, which is the is exploring. In this way, you can provide additional context while your business user is using the page editor to explore your website. So the last one is about reporting. And if we look at reporting, it's important to match the industry standards. Because Sitecore is not the only one in the industry, and we want to make life easier for marketers and business users so they understand what we do. So one thing that we do here is we've updated the bounce rate calculations and the conversion rate, so they cannot exceed the 100%. And then the last one, which to be honest could also be my first one because it's one of the favorite ones, but this is an ongoing thing. We always need to enhance Sitecore to make it work faster and perform better. The way how I focus on with 9.3 is to make Sitecore less chatty. The less requests Sitecore will do, the more efficient it will work. We've done that with XConnect, which is basically on point number 2 here, but we also did it for the overall platform. An example for this is that we bundled the less known context request with the device request, which eliminates 3 requests for every session startup. The other way how we're improving performance is to reduce the amount of data saved in the session database. We can do this by optimizing serialization code and remove, again, legacy facets from configuration. So it's all about cleaning up, making the code nicer, and making it perform better. Which brings us then to SXA. For me, SXA has 2 bigger new features and 1 major improvement. And I want to start with the first major new feature, which is the new modern and highly extensible templating engine. This engine will be based on Scriven, and Scriven is an open source templating engine. And it will provide you as a developer with a number of benefits, starting with full flow control and error logging. So as you can see in this screenshot, you can now as a developer add logic to your templates. It will of course support Creative Exchange as we've done, but we're also expanding it to support Visual Studio Code. With a Visual Studio Code extension, it will now provide you with both syntax highlighting and code suggestions. Next to faster rendering time, again, which is always important, we also replaced all the obsolete code that we had in the template engine because we use n-velocity, so we replaced that one too. The second one for me is an improvement, but it's an important one. We all know how important search is for websites, and there is room for improvement how facets and filters work in SXA. So the best way of showing you this is with this example site. You can see here on the right-hand side we have fruits, on the left-hand side we have our filters. So let's say we want to select the green fruit here. I only see the green fruits, which will end up with us having 4 results. So with Sitecore 9.3, the facet control will now be updated to reflect those results. Because if we look at the big, or the size facet, it has 1 big and 3 mediums. So let's select another facet here. We only want to see the big fruits here, which we end up with a watermelon, which is the only one apparently that is both green and red, and is a big fruit. With Sitecore 9.3, next to the updated facets, it will also show you which facets you have selected. You can clear one facet or all the selected facets. So this brings us to our last SXA enhancement in Sitecore 9.3, which is a complete revamp on how front-end development is done with SXA. Creative Exchange Live Teaming Tooling, which is a really good word to say on stage. Creative Exchange Teaming Tooling is now fully externalized, meaning that it's not stored in the media library anymore, where we only store things that needs to be shown to visitors. But even better, it will provide you now with a JSS-style team creation. So you can use the command line interface to create SXA teams with the CLI, basically answering a few questions. So teams will now be fully version control, because only the compiled teams will be uploaded to Sitecore, meaning that you can source control and you have one single source of truth for all your templating files with Sitecore. And as we release new things, documentation is important for us as developer. So when we're going to release this JavaScript API, it will be fully documented. So that's SXA. The last one is JSS. So next to, of course, enhancing and fixing bugs both in the server components as in the open source components, we also added a new feature. So you can now build your local JSS apps on your local machine and then connect it to Sitecore using a funnel. This will enable developers working on non-Microsoft machines, which in general will be MacBooks, I guess, to connect to a Sitecore instance and then connect to that and test it in a live mode for debugging and any other features. So they can truly develop a full Sitecore solution without even installing a Windows machine or using that. So that brings us to our 3 development approaches, right? We talked about custom, SXA, and then JSS. And in practice, there's multiple approaches that probably will make your requirements that you've defined. I truly believe that it's really important to choose rightly, but there's no wrong choice here. However, if you pick the right development approach, it will definitely help you execute your project, and it will add more value to your customers. The good thing is with Sitecore, it's not as soon as you select one approach that you are locked in. You can basically mix and match. So if we take a look at this example, and we started out with a Sitecore custom website built in MVC, the main brand site. We did loads of customizations, and it worked really well. The business evolves, and the marketing now wants to create quick campaign site with drag and drop component that you as developer created, and the out-of-the-box component. You can now create an SXA tenant, where marketing can create SXA sites within. Of course, marketing now wants a mobile app, and they don't want you to create it, they want their favorite brand and design agency to do so. You can do this then with Sitecore JSS. You basically supply the agency with your React JSS components, you create a JSS tenant, and as soon as the app has been built, you import that JSS app in towards the tenant. So this shows that you can mix and match all the different types of, here you go, of all these different types of development approaches. So you're not tied to one developer approach here. But you need to make sure that, or understand that all these different developer approaches use the same kernel, as I said in the beginning. So if you hack the pipelines or you modify the kernel for your custom website, this may infect your SXA site or break your JSS site. So you need to make sure that your tenant sites are good neighbors. We all know as developers that Sitecore is really powerful. You can customize anything. But I strongly discourage you to hack or modify Sitecore with, to modify Sitecore, because you can hack or you can break the other ones, the SXA and the JSS side. But again, if we talk about power, you shouldn't listen to me, just listen to what Uncle Ben said about it. So think about it before you start hacking pipelines or kernels. So enough about development approaches, right? We're done with that for now. So now we need to start development. And there's a few stages in it, right? You need to learn about new technologies, new products. You need to set up your local machine, start development, and at the end, you'll deploy your solution. So if we dive a bit deeper, we'll start with learning. And to become an experienced Sitecore developer, and probably most of you know this, you need to get hands-on experience, preferable on a real-world project with a senior developer supporting you. But before you can do this, right, you need to learn more about Sitecore. A fast and structured way of doing, of course, is training. So Sitecore now has been updating their training, and they currently offer 22 e-courses and 4 renewed instructor-led trainings. But next to Sitecore training, depending on which development approach you pick, or how you're going to host Sitecore, you probably want to learn more about technologies involved with Sitecore. So you probably want to learn more about things like Azure, if you want to do JSS, things like React, if you want to do other things, MVC, NetCore. Sitecore is based on all kinds of technologies, so make sure you look for those trainings too. The other thing that we have is documentation. And I'm really proud on the steps that we're making year over year improving our documentations. The documentation is becoming better and better every time. But surely there will be points, documentation will never be perfect, that you cannot find the documentation that you're looking for. But that's the point that you shouldn't be shy, right? Sitecore has a really strong, fun, engaging, and welcoming community. There are so many channels where you can find help, and there's different channels for different needs. If you want to discuss something, you can go to the community website and use the forums. If you have a specific question, you can go to Stack Exchange and ask your questions. There's more than 4,000 people there waiting for your question to gain a few points on the leaderboard. I mean, how great is that? If you want to chat with people, Slack is there for you. There's 3,000 people, 24/7. There's someone to talk to. So make sure you're part of that if you want to get help within building and deploying your Sitecore solutions. All right. So we've learned, and now it's time to set up our local machine, which is always an important one. So Sitecore introduced with Sitecore 9 SIF, Sitecore Installation Framework, which was great for big server environments, don't get me wrong, or for your DevOps toolset. But we got the feedback that it became really hard to install Sitecore. So with Sitecore 9.2, we introduced SIA, Sitecore Installation Assistant. And SIA, basically, you see it as a wrapper around SIF. So still maintaining all the power of the JSON files and the SIF task, but just a GUI and a wrapper around it. So with 9.3, we made a number of enhancements into SIA. The first one being that you can now install Solar directly from SIA. The second one is you can install additional modules to it, for example, SXA. So this will make your life as a developer much easier, as it will become easier again to install Sitecore. And we'll still maintain and we'll keep adding features to SIA in the near future. So then we hit the topic DevOps, because there's much more than local development setup to do good development. And we all know how important DevOps is, right? It will make you work much more efficiently. And to be honest, if you do DevOps well, I truly believe that you can do higher quality of builds. But of course, I got 45 minutes. I got tons of stuff to share about 9.3. There's no way I can address DevOps here. But that's why I'm very proud that this symposium is the first symposium where we have a full breakout track based around DevOps, where you can learn everything that you want to learn about working more efficient with Sitecore and automating things. All right, here we go. We've selected our development approach. We set up our local machine. We finally set up our DevOps process. We're ready to start the development. So Sitecore provides you with a number of guidelines and tools, right, to successfully execute your first project with Sitecore. The first one being Sitecore Helix. So who of you uses Sitecore Helix, just as a reference here? All right, so there's some room for improvement there. That's good. So Helix are Sitecore's recommended practice, and has been around there for a few years. And we're doing serious mutations and continuously on it. We recently, basically everything that I'm going to say to you now has already been released last week. So which is very good news. You can start using it right now. So with 9.3, or currently now, we extended the principles of Helix, like focusing on the why and the core principles of it. We added new UX and visuals. So we've released a new website, which is a company basic website that you can use for your references. We also include simpler Visual Studio project structure, including examples how to set up your XConnect projects, how to set up your commerce projects, and also TDS now. So also, if we talk about things that we have available, there's also training available. So if you want to learn more about Helix, there's loads of ways to get into Helix. Now the second one, if you start development, is Marketplace. So Marketplace is basically a listing of modules available. And I'm not saying that Marketplace is perfect, but where I want to point you again is our awesome community that we have. When you get your requirements, and it includes anything of an integration or custom work, use Google and search for what others have been done. In the past 11 years, most things have already been done with Sitecore, and most things have been shared by other developers. So make sure you find the right blog posts, videos, or code examples to kickstart your next project. The other thing that we provide next to guidance and best practices is a tool set. Starting with Sitecore Rocks, which is basically an integration of Sitecore and Visual Studio, enabling you to do any editing or configuration in Sitecore or in Sitecore from Visual Studio. Then we acquired Hedgehog, as we've all heard in the keynote, and as you probably all are aware. So we have a number of tools coming over from that side, starting with TDS, which probably most of you know. And TDS will improve that team integration, right? It will smooth that development process with a wide range of built-in Sitecore automation and synchronization tools. If you look at DevOps, this should be the part where you should focus on with DevOps. Then we have Resol, which is a database comparison tool. So basically, you can put two databases next to each other, see what the differences are, which items are different, and move one item to the other one. The last one is Fedora, and that basically bridges that gap between front-end development and back-end development in a custom Sitecore development approach. So if we now wrap that TDS, Resol, and Fedora into the developer collection, and again, there's much more to it. If you all seen yesterday, probably in the partner pavilion, there's a really big area, which is called the core. There's more information there to be found if you want to find more information on the tools. Charlie will do a session on TDS, so there's loads of information in this symposium to find around these developer tools. All right, deployment. We got our initial release ready. It's time to make it publicly available and deploy our solution. And again, this is where Sitecore offers multiple ways of doing it. You can host your Sitecore instance on premises, giving you full control from hardware to your own solution. But again, with that full control, you also need to maintain it all. The second option is infrastructure as a service, which is basically host your hardware in the cloud. So you still have control over runtime OS, but you're still responsible for all the security, the patches, all these things that come with an OS. You can host this basically on any cloud provider. Microsoft, Amazon, your local cloud provider. It doesn't really matter as long as you got a virtual machine. The third option is then platform as a service based on Microsoft Azure. So what you can do with this, you basically spin up your topology in Azure and you deploy Sitecore on top of this. This will remove any access to an OS and runtime. So the benefits there is that Azure is responsible for maintaining that, all the patches and upgrades towards an OS. There's even more benefits with Azure because you get all the tools. You get tools like App Insights and Health Monitor. The only thing you need to think about is that you still need to monitor it yourself. Which brings us to the fourth option, before I tell you this update, of course. The 9.3, we've updated the Azure Blob Storage for the media library, which will, of course, reduce the cost of hosting Sitecore, and it will also increase the performance. All right, then the last one, which is Sitecore's own managed cloud. So Sitecore's own managed cloud Sitecore will take full ownership of the full infrastructure stack. This will include hosting support, infrastructure monitoring, and with Sitecore 9.3, high availability, disaster recovery. The benefits of this is that Sitecore will be responsible around the full infrastructure uptime. However, as you know as a developer, Sitecore is a platform that you build on top of, so you're still responsible for your own Sitecore application. So we now have the site publicly available, and we can start creating content. So I want to start with the part where Mark Frost talked about. You know, as Sitecore helps to create relevant experiences in real time, and then also at scale, there's a lot to that, right? If we look at this image, and I basically grabbed this image from our pitch deck, which is what the seller goes to a new prospect, and this is what they show what we do. But it's a pretty good image. If you look at the left, you build relevant content. Then you deliver that in a personalized way on top. That drives outcomes. And outcomes can be anything, right? It's filling in a form or going to a dealership. It can be anything. We measure the content effectiveness and then provide the analytics back to the marketing team, which then can change their content strategy or their personalization strategy. Now, if you look at Sitecore, we also moved to the commerce space. So with the introduction of Sitecore Commerce, right, we made a unique combination of content and commerce. And this way, we empower marketers and merchandisers, right, to be fully personalized in these end-to-end experiences, even before, after, and also during the purchase. So now on the other side, we're seeing that content creation and that marketers are struggling creating the right content and deliver it to the right audience at the right time, at the right channel. And this is the content crisis that Mark also referred to. And I think it's really important to a more technical audience because I struggled with it. How hard can it be to deliver content? That's what we do at Sitecore. But where we're talking about with this content crisis is the whole management, the planning, the budget. Basically everything that's in front of creating the content, not creating the actual content or delivering. So it's not about that actually delivering on a device, it's about the management and all the processes in front of it. So with Sitecore Content Hub, we introduced this, we tried to tackle this issue, right? So we introduced a full product suite that will enable a marketer to streamline the process from creating, managing, and optimizing all the content. So let's take a look at which product we currently have in Sitecore Content Hub. Currently, Sitecore Content Hub has 5 products, starting with Sitecore DEM, which basically virtually can manage any digital assets. The second one being MRM, Marketing Resource Management. This will help marketing to plan, execute campaigns across the channels, markets, and brands. So this is where everything comes in with planning, budgets, that happens in this tool. The third one is SitecoreSYM, which stands for Content Marketing Platform. And this will provide a rich tool set to effectively plan, manage, and create content based on a content strategy. The third one is Sitecore PCM, which stands for Product Content Management, and basically contains all your product data. And the last one being Web to Print, where you can create printable assets based on all the content that lives in Content Hub. Again, a lot of information about 5 products in a short time. But you, as a developer, probably now have one question. This is a good story, I like Content Hub, but how does this integrate with the Sitecore Experience Platform? So currently, the Sitecore Experience Platform integrates with 2 products from the Content Hub, the Sitecore DEM and SitecoreSYM, the Content Marketing Platform. Sitecore DEM is integrated by using the DEM Connect module. So with DEM Connect, you basically can select and use assets from your Sitecore DEM in the Sitecore Experience Platform. DEM Connect can be used in 3 different ways in the Experience Platform. You can use it to provide responsible images within SXA, but it also extends both the image field and the rich text field. So let's take a look how this will look for an image field. So here we see our default image field. DEM Connect basically adds the option here on the top where it says browse the Sitecore DEM. After clicking browse the Sitecore DEM, it will show a pop-up window where you can select the assets from Sitecore DEM. And the good thing, what I really like about this integration of the image field, but also the rich text editor field, is that we didn't change how the Sitecore fields work. It will all work in the same way as you know from Sitecore. So if you look at this a bit more technical how this works, as soon as you select an image from Sitecore DEM, it will basically grab the public image from Sitecore DEM and use it and store it in the field value of the image field. So meaning that for you as a Sitecore developer, there's basically no additional learning curve or breaking changes to start using Sitecore DEM. So then we have CMP, Sitecore Content Marketing Platform. And we'll use CMP Connect, right? And with CMP Connect, we'll enable content authors to directly publish their content from CMP into Sitecore. This connection is orchestrated by an Azure Service Bus. So basically CMP published towards the Service Bus, Sitecore subscribed towards the Service Bus. So after you install CMP, of course you need to point CMP Connect, you need to point your CMP to the Service Bus and Sitecore. When you've done that, you can go into Sitecore. And this is where you can create a config item. And the config item is basically where you do your mapping. It contains 3 fields. It has the content type ID, which matches with a content type ID from CMP. It will have the item buckets where you want to store the items that are imported from it. And you'll select the template that you want to use while creating the items. So here we see CMP. We created an event in it. And basically there's a publish button of CMP. So there's a lot more to CMP. You can fully customize, of course, the workflow, what this button will do. For this example, I'm basically saying if you push the publish button, it will send the full content to Azure's service bus. So after clicking that button, the full content will go to service bus, Sitecore subscribe to that service bus, and will pick up that content and create the content within seconds. All right, so that's how Content Hub works together with Sitecore Experience Platform. Which we'll move on to the next thing while we're talking about content, Horizon. So after 2 previews of Horizon, Horizon will now be publicly available with 9.3. Horizon is the next generation editing environment, and we'll release it in 9.3 with 3 modes, which is the editing mode, the simulator mode, and insights. So Horizon is all about page-driven actions. So with Horizon, if we talk about the editing mode, it's within the context of a page. So here you see Horizon editing mode. You can edit all the content on the page. You can navigate your site with the panel on the left-hand side and create new pages. As you can expect, so what you see is what you get editor, so everything you change will be directly reflected on how it will look. So in this example, we'll see it in a desktop mode, right? But the good thing is with Horizon, you could also switch this to an iPad mode, providing the marketers with the opportunity to write content that fits the device where they are focusing on mainly. Horizon will also be shipped with a new media library. If we look at the second mode, it's the simulator mode. And the simulator mode will basically preview a page as how it will be rendered on a specific device, desktop, tablet, mobile, on a certain time. So if you look at this example, you'll see that we're previewing here on iPhone 7 on August the 8th. You can change the device on top. You can move the slider up and down to see how the site will look at a certain time. So moving on to the last piece then, which is insights. So page level insights you can open again from any page. So it's all about page activities, right? Everything is focused on about activities that you can do and actions on a page. So the page level insight will provide you all kinds of insights and an overview of different metrics on the page, including visits, value, bounce rate, and conversion metrics. And again, this all ties back to that content crisis, where marketing wants to see how the content is performing on a specific page. So this is what page level insight will provide you. So again, this is a really short introduction, and I'll point you to a few things where you can get more information on Horizon. There will be a session on the demo theater. There is a pod at the core in the partner pavilion, and also we'll have another session in the developer track by Alexi. So make sure if you have interest in Horizon to find those places and get more information what exactly is Horizon and what's not. So we're almost done here, right? We did requirements development, deployment, and content management, which brings us by analytics, personalization, and optimization. So if we look at where we started around content, it's about how Sitecore helps brand, right? Create that relevant experience in real time across channels. You can all understand that analytics, personalization, optimization is a crucial part of this for both our customers and for both Sitecore. So Sitecore invested in key marketing features with 9.3. We included improvements to testing and to optimization and personalization. We added new features to analytics and reporting, to marketing automation, and to forms. And as you all see in the keynote, there's been an announcement around the new service for machine learning. So let's go one level deeper and show a few things that are new in 9.3. If we look at testing and optimization, we improved the test result window. So in the past, we used the metric reach, which is based on the equal unique visitors during a tested experience. So there's a number of issues with reach. The first one is a technical one. There were performance issues, both in the experience database as in the reporting foundation. The second one is, again, goes back to industry standards. Reach was not an industry standards. So we now move to impressions, which are basically visits included in this experience. So if we look at personalization, the big thing changed here that it's now possible to see the effect of personalization without starting an explicit test. So when a user sets up new personalization, you'll see this dialog window, and I'm aware it's a small dialog window. But on the bottom left corner, you see that red box around it. There's a checkbox which says, track the effect of personalization on this component. Basically, if you check that box, it will create a test for you, which is, again, by default enabled. So the goal here is that we get more information about tests, more information about personalization. So once we now personalize this publish this personalization, Sitecore will push 10% of their visitors towards it. All calculations that are used will be same as we use for our A/B tests. So now we're getting all this information, even more test data, into the system. We need better reporting to it, which brings us to our next point. With 9.3, we added a new dashboard, which is the Experience Optimization Dashboard. And this dashboard is meant to provide you insight. Now we have all this test data to make sure you can see the efficiency and the results of your content and of your test within your Sitecore instance. So this data will combine both all the information from the personalization tracking that we just talked about in the previous enhancement, and also add your A/B test to that. For users of marketing automation, there's a new feature added. 9.3 will provide you the ability to enroll users in your marketing automation plan using the date time criteria. So there's different things you can do. So if you now configure your marketing automation plan, you can enroll new people to your plan based on 3 given criteria. Basically a certain time or day, a certain day of the week, or any given date. The other thing that we did with marketing automation is updates to email experience management. So email experience management will be released with a full new template manager, which will make it easier for marketers to create new email templates, and it will also include more out-of-the-box templates that you can configure from that point on. Moving on to machine learning. This morning, Mark Frost announced the new service, which is called Sitecore AI Auto Personalization. There's not much I can share about it because more will be shared during Symposium. I can point you to things, but in general, I can give you a high-level overview of what this will do. So if you look at this, this service will enable automated personalization in the experience platform. So basically, you can select any presentation component and then turn on auto personalization. You add content variants to that component, and the service, the AI service, will then pick the best results based on the personalization service. So basically, you put on a component, you enable it, you add more content to it, you let the service figure it out. As I'll say, more information will follow in follow-up keynotes, and there's also a session from Nancy Lee about this. So if you want to learn more, Nancy Lee is presenting about the service during a breakout session. Which brings us then to the last enhancement, which is forms. If you think about that circle that we were talking about outcomes. And outcomes are not only conversions or purchases. Anything with a form can be an outcome. So it's really good to keep investing into forms and to drive value on your website. So with 9.3, we've added 2 new elements, which is the confirm email and the file upload. You can now use robot detection, removing that annoying CAPTCHA where you need to find the traffic lights, bridges, or anything else. You can redirect to an external URL, which is my favorite, because at this point you can use form fields and add them as URL parameters to an external URL. So if you want to integrate with other systems, this is a great way of doing it. And the last one, you can publish your forms directly from the form UI. So this will save you a trip to the content editor. So here we are. I'm looking for my time somewhere. How are we doing? 5 minutes, perfect. All right, so that brings us back to the development lifecycle. We went through all the different stages. So what I personally feel what's really important to be successful is that we all share our knowledge. I already referred a few times to our community. At the end, we're all in this together. We're all trying to achieve the same thing. So when we all share our knowledge and our lessons learned, we will all benefit at the end. And these days, it's really easy to share knowledge. The options are basically endless. You can write blog posts about lessons learned, right? You can support others on chat, as I said, Slack chat, or answer questions on Stack Exchange. You can join the community on the different social channels. You can share code examples on Git. You can present on user group meetings or at conferences. You can post videos on YouTube or even do live coding on Twitch. The options are currently endless for you to share. And then as Sitecore, right, we recognize these key contributors with the MVP award. So you heard Jacob talking about it. After Symposium, we do another 1.5 days with all our MVPs, where we invite our product people and we go much deeper. And we do this because we really like our community, and we really want to learn from them how it is in the field. So the nominations for Sitecore MVP 2020 will go open soon. If you have interest, please visit the website, everything around the process and how it works, find it there, and start sharing your knowledge. So next to sharing your knowledge, there's other ways to contribute to Sitecore, of course. We really want to know what you want to see in Sitecore. So that's why we're launching a new tool for ideation, which is called AHA. So you can now, and I've tested the URL this morning, request access on this really long URL, which I should have shortened, so take a picture. And then we manually add you to AHA. So the benefits of AHA is that it's integrated into our product development. So we'll make sure that we'll provide you also with feedback, right? So we're not saying we're going to build everything, but at least we'll tell you that it's not going to be built, or it will be built, or it's in planning, and we'll keep you in the loop. So if you have anything to share, or you want to shape the future of Sitecore, this is your way to do it. Thank you.